everybody. Because that's why
There's been plenty of opportunity to create.
Plenty of opportunity.
Especially Bartosz. He's been having a field day already, you know? Just using the many clips we've provided, especially one in the pre-show.
Well, let's get in to this villa, and we'll see how things start to play out here. Obviously, as it was stated before, Heroic, nothing technically to play for. They are not only confirmed in the relegation spot, but they are confirmed relegated. They don't have a chance to play off. They don't have a chance to bring themselves back through. But if you look at the history of them versus NAVI in this split, it's sadly similar for the pair of them. A lot of losses, scatter, and it's not like both teams haven't been close. NAVI, I think, are the only ones out of the two to suffer a 7-1 defeat, if not a 7-2. And it's one of those things where Heroic have been knocking on the door so consistently, and it becomes that question of, are we going to see a Heroic that's relaxed and able to put together things because they have a fearlessness now that there is nothing to fear, the sort of worst case scenarios come true, or are we going to see the opposite? Are we going to see a team that's a bit shut down, a bit reserved?
That's the big question. Really hope we're going to see the free Heroic to come through. The one where they just show what they're worth. Because how bad it may sound, or how unlucky it may sound, they are the first team to be confirmed for Challenger League next year. And they have a lot to show here. This is also practice in the same time. We don't know if they're going to make any changes, if they are going to stay together as they currently are, or if some of the players are going to get picked up by other teams. For example, think of, for example, of a Vitality themselves, who are, of course, a full French lineup as well. You never know if they want to do some shopping. Either way, this is going to be that last bit of, like yourself, you can give out to the public to show what you're worth and to show what you can do.
Every game is a stage, and every player is a player.
Well said. Couldn't have said it much better. It's so accurate as well.
Stolen
no way
references
around it.
And literary things. Either aside, we find ourselves here opening up on kitchen of all sites. They're not going to try and set themselves up with a standard AVG, or even in some cases the split site. They're going to play this, and to be fair, it's often and is usually and pretty much always the third site for every team that ever plays Villa. But what this offers is a bit of surprise, a bit of a shake-up, and potentially the approach here of NAVI, who have to, sure, realign themselves and redefine themselves in terms of a take on a different place that they didn't expect before, but also they have to, I guess, see if this plays into Heroic's confidence.
That's it. See how it works. Heroic just trying to catch NAVI off guard in the very first round. It might work. If it works, that is already one of the sites that you at least do not have to visit for 2 other rounds. And yeah, some other opportunities to explore first. Cameras are being taken care of, though. First, as Blur's sneaking up on the pantry stairs, looking to find himself into the kitchen soon. Has to check the drone out first. Doesn't want to be too early on entering the actual site, but wants to use the opportunity if it is there to freely enter.
And that's it. He's been able to get himself stuck up so close here, and now he's actually decided, well, there's nothing else I can really do here. I'm not going to throw myself into sight. I need some other progress to be made. And Chaoxis looks like he might be going on the hunt.
Yeah, he does.
Potentially for Blur underneath. Now he's aware that there's the sound of footsteps playing around the stairs itself. They're not diving underneath as of yet, but with a minute past and the destruction starting to come from the opposite side, it's down to the pressure to come on Chaoxis.
There was a goo mine located at that staircase, so not really having the opportunity to move out freely. Grenade is about to be tossed up, though, as Blast gets the very first kill. It's going to be Chaoxis that just barely lives there. Nitrocell did get taken care of, so no need to worry about the pre-placed, but you've already lost your first member as NAVI, and Chaoxis just continues to dance around as he finally gets picked up by Nave.
Now, it's always worth noting as well, Heroic are a team that love to push this sort of envelope with defenses. They like to play these slightly out there games and see what they can make stick. And here, well, at least getting up the trade and dropping Blur is good, but they've also burned a lot of utility for the clearance on the rest of the floor itself. There's still a lot of work to do, and Navi's going to start doing that now. Dropped on the swing with the grenade, just pulled away. That's twice. Doki's nades didn't quite connect, and Thunder, well, he's almost able to strike again there, but in a slightly different place. Uses the C4 just as dramatic as his namesake, was secretly getting one back, but he's got to find another 3 if he wants a chance of locking this out. Suddenly, Heroic just decided to try and retake ground, and Navi couldn't really do much to stop it.
They weren't quite ready for the aggression that was being brought by Heroic. Void, however, takes a bit of damage. He's slowed down here, but the Goo Mine secretly has to pull down first. 40 seconds. Still afraid of any potential of the Black Eyes to be in position. Reaches that top 4. Unfortunately, nowhere he can really go except for down the hatch. And if you do that, at least you give away a lot of information. Needs to burn a Surya laser gate here. Moves through into the side of Astronomy. They know exactly where he is and will be swung on as well. Blast gets that very final kill. Heroic find their first round. It's always a good start for a team that, unfortunately, is not going to be in EUL next year. At least they can go out with a bang and make it hard for other teams, because NAVI, well, they do not have the EUL finals confirmed themselves either, and there's always that opportunity that they lose. I just quickly wanted to check the points, but
Get your points numbers
the toughest thing about this event is that the Face ID recognition doesn't work.
There's a lot of little things that you don't think about until...
Exactly.
I'm wearing a tail, and I'm never shown below the sort of my stomach.
Yeah. So that tail, no one will see it except for on the socials, probably.
We put the effort in.
We put the effort in. That's what counts.
Yeah.
But yeah, Navi, they might not be super sure yet about their current position. Only 45 points. I think Vitality have an opportunity to try and knock them out of that one. They are, however, relatively safe. So, due to the fact that Kovana, of course, lost their game earlier on. I think they did, yeah. So, yeah, that they don't have the opportunity to reach them anymore. But Vitality, of course, still having to play a game can.
So, Heroic off to a great start, taking the tertiary site and going to keep a rotation up, heading up one more story. It was a good start from Navi too, or at least it felt like it. They realized quickly where the site was, and they went for a take with a little bit more direction. But they sort of, I think, found themselves hitting at slightly different points. Blur got right up to the door and then wasn't sure what he ended up needing to do there, so pulled back as he waited for the rest of Navi to sort of get themselves set up. And then, unfortunately, suffered when Heroic realized and pushed back and fought in here. Ooh. You assume Voy is not going to last very long. And is not. Drone dropped, swung around as a good freebie and an early pick.
So important when you're droning out that you do not move that drone. If it spots out on someone, as Doki now gets killed and Blaz retakes the spot. Suddenly drops down into the piano and makes sure that they need to actively try and hunt him for whatever Navi have available to their arsenal. There's going to be a call going out from Blur. They've just saw, I believe that was Blast trying to run across who heads into the living room. Will be safe for now. The call not really having any too big of an effect, but the openings are definitely there into Aviator Games. That is the first point Navi want to go for, as they are executing for a horizontal take. Not really going into the bedroom, no. Just making sure AVGs is under control and work your way in from landing and the trophy site itself.
Wow, Blur is on a bit of a roam and a route and a way round this time, as he's still structured a little bit closer to the team instead of being a bit wider off, able to pick up the corpse and get the cams and give them a lot of intel across the board. You're wondering what is still up at this point, but either way, they're flicking through it. Not for very long. There it is. The knife out, the drop down, and the realization that a lot of their intel is now working against them. They've had to slightly reposition and restructure themselves. Shukri is holding the back line all the way towards the split of the top floor itself as they try and angle themselves towards and through that little nook and cranny to lead in towards the potential plant around all of the dead animals that litter the walls.
So we do not see very often to come through. 2 grenades being tossed out as Secretly tries to go for a bit of a reverse plant. The smoke canister is on the wrong side. They have no clue that this plant is going down. The cover will be there, and 45 seconds are on the clock. Navi successfully put it down. However, Blast coming up on the red stairs is going to be putting up a big fight here. It's just saves left now in a 1v4 situation, trying to come back. But he's being shut down before he could even make an impact. Shukri, the final member left on Heroic, or not the final, but the one that is getting that diffuser down, brings Heroic to their second round. That is building up upon their lead right now. And even though they did manage to get the plant down on Navi's side, the retake was very quick and effective.
Heroic in good spirits, as you can clearly see, after they get their second round win there. It was a clever ploy and play by Navi, but The sort of shutdown that came through, sure, the utility didn't quite pop off and connect the way it could have done. They weren't quite able to get the lead up and the connection that they wanted to in terms of peeling back and getting to a semblance of safety. It was well played by Heroic to put the pressure on when they needed to, not just with the attempt on the utility, but then backing that up and putting the pressure on with guns across the board, the rotation up red, the play underneath across the top, and then making sure that they were structured to put that man advantage to the test. Now, finally, we find ourselves at AVG. We find ourselves at what is a lot of teams' starting site, and we find a clash on the board for the first time.
The clash making its way into the game. And it's very often a very annoying shield. Of course, the TTS is trying to play around with it a little bit because, of course, Clash does have a P10C. However, it never really gets used over the SMG9, which is the fully automatic submachine gun pistol. So now he's getting a super shorty on the TTS. To create rotations, you can only assume. But I'm wondering what that 360 would start to look like, because this is a pretty solid gun, the SMG9. And if you pick the super shorty, that means you have no other option. Like there is nothing else you can pick in that case. So it's just a CC shield and the super shorty. I think it's gonna give us quite some awkward situations if you would pick it in pro play and you're the last one left with a super shorty.
I don't think it would go well.
I don't think it would go well either.
Is the quickest way, but if it did, that would be one of the most historic clips that Pro has ever seen. Talking of good clips so far, Blaz, he is a surefire force over the first 2 rounds and was being continually pinged, fell back a little, but not enough to entirely put himself out of the fight here, as he's going to get called and they're going to play around. Voy is there to apply some pressure. Every single which way is open on Blaz, but this is a minute. Minute lost, the minute focused, and the hop-in is just going to come through with the attempt on the pre-fire. There it is. Doki locks it off, takes care of Blaz, and they try and find the Clash. The Clash has a modicum of support as Chaoxus just covers the route as the way upstairs, but with a minute wasted already on one player, they've got it successfully, cleanly. Now they've got to see if they can try an angle to the site.
Very final magnet is being tossed into the main stairs, which means that a lot of utility needs to be tossed up there if they want to get grenades around a Clash. That gives you the eye of what Heroic wants to achieve. They want to keep this Clash alive for as long as they possibly can on the main stairs, and every single piece of utility that is left on the attacking side needs to be used for it. Both the flashes as the grenades itself, of course, is NAVI being taken care from above. Thunder with a very important kill right here. Brings it back to even Stevens.
Very well played there by Thunder and Heroic to get the coordination and the communication to drop them from above. Doki is going to see if he can find a different route round with a single body playing at the top of red, holding the lockdown and making sure that everything stays at least a little bit solid with all the attention that's being paid against the Clash. The call comes in. And now as Shukri ends it very quickly and then ends the life. Looks to see if he can take the fight onto the next, just holding the bottom of the red stairs and tucks himself in with one body coming up to offer some support. It's secretly with the diffuser trying to swing, but Shukri has instead found the fight there. Instead drops them, but not entirely locking it off. The player goes down. However, without a thinker on the board, they're going to have to be manually picked up as saves goes for the long way around, 30 seconds, and they've got to make it quick.
Wanted to quickly take care of the default cam there. Blur also found someone holding the long classical hallway. So the remaining members of Heroic, they know where NAVI is coming from, and his voice now setting himself up in that long hallway. Whoever is trying to challenge that will be slowed down massively. Blur, however, has an entry into the site and will decide to take it. Now needing to stop anybody from moving through. Flashbangs and smokes are being tossed in to stop any plant from happening. Void trying to go around the back, needs to make sure he has the impact that they need because Chaoxus is sneaking around the corner. Can he stop the plant in time? No, he cannot. He got picked up by Blur, and that means it's just up to the Clash now. Void in a 1v2 situation gets the very first kill, swaps back to that shield just to try and get some extra information.
Creeps his way all the way to the red door, sees where the diffuser's planted and sees nobody. But is well aware that there's going to be one playing onto this side, hoping that they're low, but it's secretly that was the one that was already down. It was a clever idea. If he'd have been able to catch secretly with the zaps, it would have very likely ended them, but 50-50, and the other man was playing on the gun vault with the lockdown. NAVI, they're able to find around and find a take here and stop the momentum building up. It's a bit of a burn, a bit of a catch-up, but they're more than capable.
They are more than capable of making this happen and get these attacks on the road. Just managed to pick up one. And let's see if they can pick up some more. That's, of course, the most important part in the end. They need to get 1, 2, maybe even 3 rounds to really get Villa to go their way, especially against the Heroic that doesn't have anything to lose at this very moment. Also, NAVI, they just need a singular point to secure themselves to the European League finals. Or they need Vitality to drop a singular point. So that shows you enough of what is possible currently. And as we head on to the next round, NAVI, they will also know this. The major, very unlikely to happen. Of course, these standings will still impact a little bit of the SI points they can get, which of course might help them in their qualification for the 6th Invitational. Let's just put it like this. It's better to end 6th in EUL than it is to 8th, because there is some small SI points attached to it.
Hey, you know how earlier I said we don't really see the 4th site on Villa?
Yes, there it is. And this is also, you know, it's a team doesn't have anything to lose. We've seen this before from the core of this team, like something they would love to play. And just look at all the destruction. They're opening up everything with a DP27. They're using the Oryx Ramadash as well to just run through walls and create rotations. Kioxis has a secondary shotgun. There's so many opportunities of opening everything up and just make it uncomfortable for NAVI that NAVI will have to really carefully look through this site and see where the weaknesses are.
It's the fun conversation you sort of get to have now is what is the sort of pick rate of sites, what is the viability, because it used to be that Club Bar was the lowest out of anything.
Yep.
You just never saw it. This potentially takes the place now. This is potentially, in fact, I'm confident to say, without seeing every Villa that's played this split, probably the only Villa time that this site has been played.
I would agree with you, especially in Europe. We haven't seen the living room yet this stage. Not even sure if we've seen it this year. Either way, it is here now, and it's up to NAVI to try and solve the puzzle that has been put up by Heroic. But you have to be very careful because there is Nitrous being tossed out. Had the opportunity there to grab a double if he had a little bit more information, but unfortunately did not. And that means he was sticking in that 5-on-5 right now. A little bit of damage dealt on either side. Shukri gets the very first kill. Dispatches Doki right after he tossed a grenade down the red stairs.
That's it. Double bad luck there for Doki, and his grenade's been swung on a couple of times, and Heroic are really leaning into putting the pressure back on. Thunder is left a little bit isolated right now as the gun vault gets popped open, limits some of the rotation. Secretly is currently holding off with Chaoxis, toying with the idea of going for a bit of a swing back round. Nate's waiting, watching, and hoping to catch somebody that might get a little bit loose, but losing out that early engagement, losing out the first fight, it's going to make things tougher to try and creep their way closer. Blur, he's hopped into Mudroom. He's playing close to the fire here, and he's looking to see if he can get a cheeky swing.
He's waiting for Blast to come around the corner. He knew that he got spotted because his drone got taken out, and Blast is putting himself into a position where he could go for a potential strike. Right near China. Didn't actually get droned out here by Saves. That's a massive oversight. Blaz in a very good position right now to pick up a kill, maybe even two, as Void just dashes into safety, running through a wall, through a cabinet there.
Oh, Blur's still a bit cautious, but he's not going to try and swing that way, so he doesn't entirely suffer. There is that loose connection in between the middle of the corridors that might cause a problem.
Blaz, there he comes!
Blaz one, there's two! And that is when that mist drone comes in to punish. Just a corner locked off, leaves Blur left in the smoke, trying to creep his way around the corner. But it's a flawless for Heroic.
Yeah, Shukri picks up that very final one, sees him coming through the smoke into his site housing there, but managed to at least get the kill in the end. And Blast being mist-droned there, Saves not checking the corner. And it is such a default thing, right? It basically, it barely costs you any time by just flicking to the right up there and then continue to drone. But by not doing it, suddenly it's Blast right behind 3 of your members that no one knows of. And that means he strikes, and that means he picks up those 2 kills, and suddenly, well, you're in a 1v5 situation. It looked a lot better 5 seconds before that happened, so either way, Dining Kitchen back underway. Heroic 3-1 in the current scoring. Montaigne is being picked up, just like the Clash. And a 1v1, the Clash will be winning out on that one, considering the Zep does damage and the extension of the shield does not.
Well, it's still on par and still on course, but it's a little mistake that's cost them a pretty big here. And the change of pace to the Monty, they're going to see if they can change the pace of the swing rounds. There it is. It's a tragedy that unfolded in front of all of our eyes because of a drone that just didn't.
Yeah.
The little drone that couldn't.
The little drone that missed. Blaz just hiding in the corner there.
That's a longer title for the...
It's not as catchy either.
No. Well, I was referencing something.
I know.
I know that you don't.
I know you were referencing something.
Oh, okay.
I just don't know what you were referencing. It's like, see, I'm at this point where I can tell what is a reference. I just don't know what the reference is.
Yeah. It was about a train, but that train
Is
could.
it the little train that couldn't?
No, that train could. This drone couldn't.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll get there someday.
Who might get there? Monty. That is, as I was saying, the change of pace here. They're going to see if they can put some pressure onto the swing game that's otherwise been pretty catastrophic for Navi so far. Heroic's just been able to have the angles and find the fire. This is a dangerous game that you're playing, but you survive it and are able to take care of a very important piece of tech. Gambled, but you won this one.
And a Mewjummer got taken out. That at least allows you to put up some Selmas. I'm not quite sure if that's exactly what Secretly has followed up with already, because one of the Selmas did get tossed in, meaning some of the walls are opening up. The Pest, of course, is a bit tougher to get hold of. It's not going to be quite impossible. You might be able to just get the angle if it was placed. Well, not exactly right. Either way, Keoxys is holding off to the bottom floor, whereas the rest of Navi's looking to go for a bit of a top floor take as Blur is the first one to fall. Blast knew exactly where he was, and as the phone call comes in, it just swings right onto that window and picks up the kill, and now lets the rest of Navi go on a hunt for him, because he has that vertical control. He has the opportunity to just punch holes into that floor and start shooting at you from above when you're trying to get the plant down.
It was two very fast-firing guns in a short space, and it was always going to sort of go one way or the other in a very graphic and dramatic fashion. That is what happens when you throw those two guns against each other. But it's also a worry because Blur, sure, apart from a mistake, has generally been able to get himself into pretty tricky situations and might be able to punish them if he's allowed to survive on the board.
Oh, there comes Doki. They had absolutely no clue he was coming through, and that means Blaz now got punished. And Voy on his shield just realized that he is under the next bit of pressure. As a hatch to drop potentially could be moving down the stairs as well, depending on which of the two is more safe. Stokie is heading down the red stairs. The vertical control is basically being surrendered by Navi. They don't really want to use that now, and Keoxys misses the opportunity to punish the player down into the basement. Also knowing fully well that Saves is waiting on the other side of the, well, actual room, looking to punish him.
That's it, 40 seconds. They realized they don't want to get isolated off the site itself. They knew that they'd be closing down pressure somewhere, and if it's on them, well, they're off on a different game. Nath, he's going to dig his way further and further forward. Tanks and tanks, a bit of damage there, but as Doki just creeps his way in on the back, he's going to see if he can put some pressure in. There's a man so close, and there it is, able to get one back, the double, and Doki's led his way on through, but the diffuser is not in hand. Keoxys cannot keep the lockdown, and it's just Voy above, 13 seconds. Doki's been able to recollect. They're going to look for a new angle, and there's nothing that Void can find or do up here. The clash.
Oh,
hey,
yep,
you remember that person? There was a lot of jokes about what happened when you two met, and now it's face-to-face, but there's two others with guns and eyes desperately on locking this round out.
And a 1v1 with enough time, you're going to be winning that from a Monty. But, you know, since the timer is already set at 45 and there's only 30 left, meaning Voy needs to get a move on very quickly here. Doesn't even manage to get past the first, though. Saves, picks up that kill, and Navi managed to find their second attacking round on Villa so far. And there is yet another one to go. Round number 6 is about to start, and that is the opportunity for Navi to either bring it to 3-3 or for Heroic to establish their lead into that first half, going onto the attack with a bit of a buffer.
I mean, 3-3 would be, I think, beyond good for this point at Navi. They have sort of suffered from the pressure, and if anything, if they're able to lock off 2 rounds in a row, for me, what it paints is a team that's learning the tricks of Heroic. Whether it's 1 or 2 moments, whether it's 1 or 2 threads, whether it's the frustration at how those swings have been going against them and they want to lock it off. Either way, the change to the Monty, the change of the pace, and how they want to apply themselves to this is a team that's finding out how to solve the problem in front of them. And Heroic, you know, sure, they've got 1 more swing left to lock it out, potentially get a 4-2 before they turn into their attacks. You know, it's just those little tricks and those little moments where if these individual plays of Heroic are what's siphoning them around so far, that's a tougher thing to translate onto your attacks.
It is tough for sure, but just look at Doki just now. Managed to sneak through every single bit of defense, picks up Blast in the top floor first, goes down, goes through China into the actual dining room and picks up another 2 kills there. You know, there's definitely the opportunity for it, as long as the intelligence is being fed to you of what's safe and what's not. However, you have to wonder as well, will Navi's defense be up with as many gaps as Heroic's was last round? Because, well, Blaz, he should have never really been in that position where he could have just been picked up from someone walking through, you know, concrete out there without even being spotted. So, singular defensive round is what Heroic has left. What can they do? It's a bit of a roam out here from Void. The rest is relatively close to the sides, and his grenades are attempted to be tossed in, but also just quickly being pinned up again. Doki seems to know about Blaz's position, but Blaz is a little bit quicker on the trigger there. Gets the very first and drops the grenades on the ground.
It's the 3rd time that Doki's been swung whilst going for those pre-cooked grenades. The 3rd time he's suffered and not been able to quite get it to pop off, and it's just an unfortunate statistic of this game and the confidence of Heroic. There's one more. As Saves gets locked off this time and swung onto by Chaoxis. Again, these big swings, these individual plays, they're working out on the defense, and it's trying to break that momentum from Na'Vi, trying to get themselves more solid as a 5, more expectant of the danger that Heroic want to thrive and survive within. Void is restructuring some of the defense to give themselves some chance at popping any of these shields now that they've realized it's coming flat across the pressure, and maybe they've realized there's a Monty on the board. Either way, they've 100% realized they want to restructure and remove some.
It's a smart call because the main force from Na'Vi seems to be coming from this side, and of course, as we say that, a big rotation is being called in. Nave all the way up to the roof, secretly going back towards the master bedroom. Seems like Na'Vi is still not quite done yet. They are restructuring their attack as well, as the defenses have been changed. And surely this will be called soon, because that shield moving across that roof with the opening that is, of course, in between that map might have been called out. And already on the Astro stairs, of course, 3 people actually aiming towards that master bedroom entry. It is not going to be easy for Na'Vi.
Now, as the canisters come through, Void is obviously not too far away with a C4 in pocket. Chaoxis is even closer, hiding in the cupboard and waiting to see if he can get the swing round on a Monty that pops his way through. Saves is there to offer some support, but it's Thunder that gets the Monty as the opening. Chaoxis goes for a roam and a rotate, leaves Secretly and Blur isolated either side with 30 seconds left. Another canister pops. Blaz underneath, making sure he can strike if they try and hop in the window via Laundry Hatch, and Void is the one that's actually trying to find the fight first, just swings into the fire. Takes as much damage as they can, but knew they didn't really have a choice because with only a handful of seconds left, blinded.
Ooh, but
he locks off Shukri in the meantime. Secretly's ring around the rosies. He's the only one left waiting for the swing back round, but it's Void that locks it off. Heroic with a 4-2.
I was going to say, no, he picked up that kill with the SMG there, but indeed he did. It was his teammate that managed to pick up one, and in the end, it is Heroic that still managed to lock off the 4-2. Going over to the attack themselves, as you said, might be a little bit harder to go for the individual plays that have netted them a couple of these rounds. And Aviator Games will be up next. They need to show their best of teamwork now onto the attack to clear the defenses that Na'Vi will be throwing up. Now, we do see the line, pretty much a signature operator for this lineup, especially for the team rather. Something they have used throughout CL, and all the way, of course, even though the complete roster has been changed, is being a strategy that is being utilized till today.
So, now with the Thunderbird on the board, now with the change of pace, now with Na'Vi on their defense, starting in AVG, can they try and thread some of the frustrations of the pressure that Heroic put on, or are we about to see a different turn of force? Are Heroic going to be able to apply the same pace and freedom and freewheeling attitude that led them to so many of these successful flanks and engagements into their attack? It's not that easy. Or it's easier said than done, at least. It becomes a bit trickier, especially on a map like Villa, where there is a large space. Saves got himself fixed up. He suffered a bit of damage, but when you're your own medic, you're always in.
Just weaving to the Kona station there and like, hey, I am your creator. I am your owner. Give me that heal.
Isn't that the lore of today, that you and I were created by Milosh?
Is that the
You're
lore
like
today? I
the
think it is.
monster and I'm the wolf.
I'm the monster and the doctor at the same time, so it's like I created myself.
You were patched together. Well, Milosh is also the doctor, but spelled with a K. Because it's Doctor's Curse.
Oh!
Hey, look at this. This is a rush.
That's a
Finker's
rush.
in now over the strategy table. 2 kills and Doki battles back. Nath lost a bit underneath, but with the C4 towards the default plant. Might try and strike. Waiting for Thunder to stop, land. No, go straight past. It's now down to Blur, who's going to hold on to the gun vault as they see if they can get the wide swing onto Thunder. The canister is what's going to force them back out round the corner. Doki is keeping them isolated. There's a second one. Thunder is gasping for breath here as Doki tries to get the swing. The rotation comes round. Deep din, drop down. Blaz on the backside as Nath slips his way past just before the E1D calls out everything. Now, with the diffuser cold inside the site, they've got to try and rebuild with the 2 versus 2. Got it back up. But around the strategy table, they are in between the fight here. Chaoxis goes wide, gets dropped, looks around behind the back for one more. Can't quite get the connection. Blur pulls back. Now it's Blaz that locks it off.
The rush right here working out, and that is the line as well to come through. The E1D pops, suddenly everybody stops moving. And if you continue moving around, then, well, your position will be given away to those attackers who are more than willingly going to take use out of that. Now, NAVI, 3 rounds behind. It's not a comeback we know is impossible. They've done it before, even from worse than this. But it's definitely still going to be a tough one. Aviator Games is on next. They are on the defense. They're on the favorite side. Everything seems to be pointing in an okay direction. Except for the fact that Heroic, well, they can afford to play unpredictable. And that is often the bane of any analyst that lives inside of Pro League. Because they predict everything, right? You see it on Fresh. He's predicting the maps. He's predicting the bans. He's predicting how teams will play and what sites they go to first. And then you come up against a team that is already relegated. They don't really need to play for anything but their own pride and potentially, you know, for a bit of placement inside of this stage. They can do whatever they want. They can play how they feel the game should be played. And that is not something you can prepare for. If that is something completely off the books, completely unorthodox, like playing Living Room, for example, barely happens. And they did it here as well, Heroic. That is hard to predict, hard to prepare for.
In the words of LP, a little blip in the shadow of motherships. When there's nothing else to lose, everything's for the win. And that's Heroic.
That is definitely Heroic. There is nothing for them to lose right now. They can just rack up wins and make the season just a little bit tougher for everybody else that has been making it so tough for them over this past year. It's a bit of payback time. Sweet revenge.
Well, they may as well do it and advertise themselves for it. And I think Blaz going 12-2 is a heck of an advertisement. Hey, remember when they weren't droned properly around the corner by Blur? Well, there's maybe potentially about to be some revenge. It's down to the trigger discipline.
The misdroned becomes the misdroned. As Says here, the one to call out for the Twitch drone to be shot. It's too much of a risk to leave it up, but he decided to get some help to make sure that that will be taken care of. So Shukri now sending in the next drone, trying to still find out if someone has moved into a position. Oh, might have actually spotted him out. No, I don't think they did. Shukri not really paying any attention to it. That drone really needs to get into position, but Saves already fell back, felt that his position could have been made, and there's no big play to come through on the back of a misdrone like it has been before as it's Blast, the first kill, dropping secretly.
Yeah, unfortunate moment there as Blaz lent into the aggression and secretly was cut off from underneath. That gives them a lot of control of red, which gives them a lot of this pressure that they can put onto landing now that they have the mantle of the crossfire, now that they have the multiple angles that they can try and drive their way through. There's still some caution being paid towards the potential of the study take here, as Voi's the one going for a huge rotation round, but it seems pretty focal and localized around the backside of the site onto red and onto Gun Vault itself. Over a minute left. Loads of time here, and Heroic are making sure they make the most of it. They still have 2 grenades in the pocket of Blaz, who's creeping around underneath, but has actually popped his way up. Isn't going to go for the vertical explosion here. In fact, that's land currently owned by a Navi player.
They're going to rush this, I think, as soon as the adrenaline surge goes off. They're going to be pushing in, stopping any bit of utility to potentially come through. Thunder needs to dig himself in right behind that gunvault door to start going for a potential plan, as the X-Cars will be making sure that the bar position is suddenly a lot less playable. Blur goes down, the plant is coming in. The Nitro, however, picks up Thunder, but gets Doki as well. The pickup will be there. 28 seconds are left on the clock. Another Nitro will be coming in. That is going to be a double kill, and forces Shukri to go aggressive right now as well. It's only up to Blaz in a 1-on-2 situation. Can he clutch this out is the question, as there is one right behind the bar. There's one up on the main stairs. He needs to get these one by one with only 13 seconds left. It saves with the pre-fire. And the double Nitro worked out well here for Navi. Otherwise, that would have been a post-plant position.
Saves with a 4K, lives up to his name and saves the round there. Obviously, the C4 that was thrown by NAVI went into the wrong side of the door. They expected it to, and that is why Doki got caught up in it. It was a rush situation. It was a lot of things happening very quickly, but they persevered. They held on, Nath with the rotation up on the back to lock off the 5 players. It was at least a bite back, but it's only one. And it was still a little bit scrappy, a little bit fighty, and they're still losing these swing and early engagements. So Trophy Statue is where we're going to head next to see if they can, I guess, curiously build from this. Are they going to see if they can reestablish? They have the potential for a couple of C4s that could cause some problems, but that reliance on utility, that trust in just that being the saving grace and hoping they go for default, if there's a team that's going to swing away from default plants, Heroic's name is probably up there.
Definitely will be a saves getting in that Nitro just before Keoxys was able to reach the outside of the door. If it was a second later, it was going to be already too late. Either way, Navi saved that round, or saves the round, and that brings us to that 3-on-5 mark. 2 rounds differentiating the two of them. Navi, they need to get 6 rounds here today if they want to lock themselves in for the European League finals. Of course, in the next match where Vitality will play, there's still going to be the opportunity for them to lock it off if Vitality drop any points, considering the difference between them is 6 currently. Just a Playday to go after this one, meaning every team just has 3 more points to play for.
Still, it's been a little bit unfortunately scrappy here, and I guess if we're going to talk about how Heroic are playing, they are playing like a team with nothing really to lose. They're throwing themselves into these engagements, they're trying these rushes, these plays, these ploys, and they're generally capitalizing on them well. Apart from that one, well, Voy is the first off the board. The hard destruction is gone. It's going to make the approach here a little bit more awkward, but their approach seems to be, let's throw ourselves into the site. Not as quickly as they did the first time round. The smoke canisters are going to stop them instantly flooding the bathroom. It stays dry and a little bit too smoky. Secretly, he had to move, had no choice, but is able to slip just out of that.
Survives there, but just barely. Still 2 grenades left, though. The magnets that were active have been wasted. However, Secretly is still recharging some of them over the round. The smoke canisters are being tossed in just to stop the quick approach that Heroic have been attempting to put up, because just a single opening and suddenly they will all start flooding through. Blur being off-site here, just waiting on the red stairs for a potential flank to come through. It's Heroic that is a man down currently, and they are well aware.
Blaz is going for the rotate all the way around underneath to see if he can apply some pressure onto the back of Navi's hold right now, as they've got themselves a little bit loose. It's Blur, as you said, locked off on red stairs, but these swing fights have generally been going Blaz's way. The E1D is going to offer some support, but he loses it out. And it's Blur to lock it off there, and it puts them in a bit of a tricky spot. Thunder finally opens the door in the killing, but saves us there to put it right back with a triple so far for the round, and that is now his 7th over 2. Can he keep this heat up, this pressure, this push? Nath is the one that locks it off, but it is so needed for Navi.
Saves is so key in these last 2 rounds. As you said, able to pick up 7 kills in those 2. That could have been a difference maker here. That could have been Heroic already onto a match point in the previous round. And of course now they have managed to bring it back to 4-5. A singular round is differentiating the 2 as of now. We are heading towards Dining Kitchen. And Heroic bringing back that line yet once more. The Finka on the board and the Nomad for now as well. It's not quite yet a rush lineup that we would, try and be like, okay, this is going to be definitely a rush, because they play like this every round. It's you know, there's nothing that just gives away the game except for the fact that they're all 5 stacked up on a singular door, heading directly into the sides. And while the drone phase will be crucial for this here on the dining kitchen, if they do manage to figure out there's only going to be 1 or 2 players going to be in there, then suddenly that rush could be there. Suddenly they might just pull that trigger and go in quick.
I think that's always the way with this sort of site, with this sort of positioning, is it's technically a tertiary for pretty much every team. It's awkward sometimes to keep yourself a handle on, and it's even more awkward against teams that love to go fast, that see an opportunity and go, yes, please, thank you, I've got the diffuser down. We saw it, in a way, when NAVI were able to take it. It was the start of NAVI actually being able to put themselves into this game where Doki pretty much crouch-walked and crept his way in through the back door and then struck and then was able to find a triple, and then from that point onwards, they've put themselves in a really good position here with this Lion still on the board, with the Finker, with the possibility of pace. Are Heroic going to put that to the pedal?
See, that's the thing. I believe there's only 1 or 2 operators directly on the side. The rest is quite close. They are in a position where they could instantly try and respond to whatever push is coming through. But if that first initial gunfight is lost, then, you know, you need to work into the potential counter and the potential retake right after. And that just changes the entire game. Shukri, however, already very close, taking care of the default cam inside the living room. It's Blast to get the very first kill. Secretly drops. That's the 1 off the board. No extra disc will be deployed, and that's a little bit of utility gain as well as the fact that you now have cleared that top floor. You can now start using any verticalities, which unfortunately the lineup that Heroic so love to bring has little to no capability of.
And as an E1D pops over the top, with Secretly being the first off the board, they're going to see if they can swing their way round. Remember, when we were watching Navi go for their clear here, it was slower. It wasn't quite with the same pace that we're getting a bit of Heroic here. They're opening up and making sure the air jabs are locked in to cover any potential swing round. They're making sure that they can't be punished the same way they often love to try to punish Navi back on the other side. Blaz, he's spotted, at least on the camera, as it gets dropped down, and he finds his way and fights his way over the top to reposition and position themselves to take down the final 4 players.
Now Doki, still on the bottom floor, has the opportunity to either rise from the red stairs, the pantry, or of course the Astro stairs. There's 3 opportunities for him to try and go back up, and currently none of them are actively being held by either air jabs or anything else. At least the Banshee has been taken care of. That is another step to potentially try and flood the side. Saves, takes a little bit of damage from the exterior windows right here as grenades are being tossed in, and now the first kills start raining in. Blast gets the first. However, the smoke canister will hold them back for just now.
Pre-fires through against the E1D, which is going to cause a little bit more movement, but at least has the bomb chassis to keep him alive and going. Now, as Doki finally makes his move, he creeps up and gets a very important kill against Blaz, who has been more than a problem, 15-5, but no more this round. Voy is going to try and put his pressure here on the laundry room side, but with only 20 seconds, it's got to start coming down from the rest of the man advantage that they have. There it is. Thunder has the lock. Voy has 1 more. It's just nobody as Chaoxis locks it off.
Well played there by Heroic, just locking off these angles, setting up these crossfires, and they knew that Doki had to come up somewhere again, and they just waited for him to do it. Would have been better if Doki would have waited till they actually started hitting the site. That way he would have been, you know, guaranteed to come in the back without being spotted. I believe there was still some E1Ds left, however, on the side of Heroic. Might be mistaken there. But it is going to be match point for them. Not just 1, but 2, put up like that. But they can still make it to EUL finals if they get 2 rounds. And if they get even more points, they will maybe even go to the SI. As Milos would say, the granddaddy of them all.
The granddaddy?
The granddaddy of them all.
He looks a little bit like a granddaddy today.
His hair has grown grey very quickly.
It's a very stressful job.
Managing all those monsters.
Well, yeah, it's his family on the analyst desk. And Wednesday and Uncle Freshter.
Uncle Freshter, yeah.
As I put them at the very beginning, his guffawing friends, his accomplices in mad science.
Was it Master Dez and
I think so.
And what was Dez? Ace? What was he?
I don't remember.
I can't get over it that he forgot me during that I was in his
Oh
team.
yeah, have you
I was
mentioned
literally
it?
no, but I was second fragging. Like I had 7
Yeah.
kills.
And he
Like,
forgot
come on.
you.
And he forgot me. I mean, I was quiet. I wasn't talking because I lost my
you
voice.
lost your voice. But you were there.
I was there and I was typing.
I was there as well.
If you got a 1v3 clutch, you know, like
That didn't make the video, I don't think.
that did make the video, just a pre-fire onto one of them.
Both Easy and Jess swearing did. And
See, I don't want to say I've normalized it.
I think it's quite funny when people are like, oh my god, they swear. It's like, yeah. Off broadcast, usually. Apart from you. Now as the pressure comes. Over Mudroom, we've done the breakdown. Oh yeah, and you're the monster and I'm the pet wolf.
Yes, we forgot that part.
Yeah. The spray comes around. Doki is trying to put some pressure instantly back into the approach, but nothing is quite connecting yet. They're pulling themselves further and further back. They dedicated themselves for a little bit of an early push here, and they wanted to see if they could punish Heroic, if they could bite Heroic earlier than otherwise had been before. But this time round, no. As another E1D pops off, this continual sort of surge and pulse is entirely marring anything. Secretly dropped over the top, the upside-down rappel on the study window of Void, but Nath should be able to get them back.
Yeah, they are going to be able to get him back, but at least that's going to be removing Nate from his current position. That leaves a bit of a gap into the defense he now needs to try and retake. There's also Blast just already pushing up very far into Classical Hall. Has the opportunity to just strike big here as Void gets the very first kill, and Nate is being tossed in very deeply here as they know exactly someone got down onto the main stairs. Blast, if he manages to find Blur, certainly the entire side and everything in it will open up for a potential push from Heroic to come through. But again, they're setting themselves up to go for a potential take. Nate, with a bit of a run out, tosses up the Nitro Cell. Void jumps down and tries to go for the actual kill onto Nate, but Nate survives that one. Still has a Nitro up there though, can detonate it at any given time, and Blast, however, now going on that hunt.
That was it. It was a bold move there by Void, but he knew he had a choice to make, and he almost made the right one, but it didn't quite connect. Blaz, he's crept his way back around, sees the shield, and isn't going to drift into the fight just yet. Nath is now the man in the mantle just behind this, as the little bit of pressure comes around, but not enough for them to sort of start the fight here. A minute on, and they can still rebuild. They still have Pocket Grenade, and they're going to pop that one off last. Will it catch saves? No, it tried to go a little bit further, potentially to get the electrics on the wall. Actually, no, there's no hard destruction. There's nothing that will be able to pop that through. It was for the body, and they just gambled and guessed wrong. So that means the only thing they can do right now is just force themselves into the site, but probably not through that.
Yeah, the smoke is coming through, and that, of course, does double damage when the adrenaline surge is active. So as soon as Shukri activated it, they're going to go and try and run in right here. Thunder is in a position where he can go for the plant. Blaz is deep right behind the Roost table. Thunder trying to go for the kills here as well. They're not even trying to get that plant down. They just want to go for the kills. It's a 3-on-2 situation. Make that just Keoxys left, however. Misses the first very shots. Goes for the second attempt, though. Managed to hit that one. But Nave, inside of the study, is going to be able to lock that one off and at least defy this first match point.
One more! And we said the same thing to Heroic last Playday, but Heroic were arguably fighting for something a little bit more dramatic, as theirs was between the instant relegation, which obviously they lost. Here, Navi, I guess they're fighting for a few things to try and push themselves to the OT. Obviously, the aforementioned Major and the possibility of SI, the granddaddy, the Milosh of them all, but also to break a streak that sort of plagued them because they were riding so high and so confidently over the previous split. They had so much energy, and then that sort of carried a bit over into the start of this split, and then it sort of dragged and it sort of faded, and they found themselves unfortunately struggling, and it puts them in a very tricky position because they are, when they're confident, a very, very good team.
Yeah.
But they haven't really had that confidence for a while.
See, both Navi and G2 actually dropped off. They were number 2 and 3 in the previous stage. Now they find themselves at number 7 and 8. It's kind of insane how both these teams have dropped off this much. Probably wouldn't have expected it either. And now BDS, you know, they went from 4th place to now stuck at the top, you know, suffering from success. But you also have Rogue up there now, which had a horrendous stage 2. Again, I don't know what it is.
They often do.
But it's something with number 2, I think, that... Oh, maybe if they play against Fav, that is their kryptonite. Number 2.
I know, I was there with you.
Okay, yeah, I was just...
But I was also distracted because the Beowulf was the book that they were reinforcing. Maybe I just have a connection and affinity for wolves today.
Maybe. I wonder why it is.
Arguably. Here, Heroic, do they have an affinity for locking off a map? Now they're in a position to be the team that is the advantageous one. They're going to start their pressure here, 2 drones, and obviously the fake lady gets caught out and gets an idea on where they are, is able to slip their way past. And Blaz now, with the grenade and the hole over the top, is going to be able to drop the claw.
Gonna get that? No, actually. Let's get a second in. I think that one might have actually hit. No, actually did not either. That is going to be the electric claw still on.
Underneath?
Oh, but the left one at least got opened up, so Saves has the opportunity to actually try and trick that one. There you go. The electric claw and the Artilla did actually go off in time, and that means the Excars are not going off. So a bit of wasted utility here on the side of Heroic, not really able to open up the wall they want to open up.
Honestly, Saves over these past few rounds has really been the reason that NAVI has been able to keep fighting into this so far. Now, are they going to see if they can finally pop open this wall? The grenade over the top doesn't catch the claw. It must be underneath. It must be on a different floor. One more. Saves is entirely having a good time playing with this. Or the claw could be up in the banisters.
Oh, it's right next to him. It's in concrete. He's just tossing it down there, so they're not going to be able to get it. Plays there as well to stop any form of contestment to come through. So now they need to get rid of it, but they have no clue it's there. They need to get that drone out there. So instead, they're seeming to be going for a bit of a Astro push, maybe?
I mean, so far, 4 frag grenades and 3 flashes have all gone through one hole to a net gain of nothing. Add in the fact that they've also lost 4x Kairos, and it's really just been a bit of a tragic story in the story of the Triple Wolf. And now it's just seeing if they can lock it off as the spray comes. Battle back and forth. Blaz and Doki strike either side, with Saves still acting as this backline beast, and Behemoth on the far side saves. One more pushes Shukri out of the round, and with Voy massively injured, it's down to the rest to see if they can slip their way through. Chaoxis is holding on the backline, but Blaz is the next to fall. Secretly is aware of the pressure coming through. Both players find and isolated inside Astro, but there's nowhere really to go.
Oh, this seems like it will be going to OT. Saves is hiding behind a broken chair. At least an air jab will go off secretly. Will be dropped back just slightly. A single kill comes in. A second one comes in for Void. 10 seconds left on the clock in a 1v2 situation. One prone next to the deer statue. If you manage to land that shot, you might have an opportunity. But no, it's a trade to come through. Saves again. Saves the round. You can almost say, as he managed to stop them from opening up that wall basically for 2 minutes straight. And after that, picks up a triple kill in the round yet once more. Brings NAVI to OT, but more importantly, they were a single round away from making it to the European League Finals, which NAVI have now qualified for.
Trophy statuary. And we are going to see if Heroic can still lock out a map that they started with a lot of promise and potential on. Here, it was a bit of a rocky road on their attacks, and thankfully for them, they're starting on their defenses. But Heroic have been able to strike, and they have been able to put some pressure on. It just seems like, well, again, kudos to Saves, because he has been such a force. I believe at the start of the defense rounds, he only had about 1 kill, and since then has absolutely exploded.
The defense is really where Saves managed to save NAVI multiple times, because he managed to get those triple kills, get those quad kills even, in the positions or in the times of dire need. And as a result, NAVI now find themselves in overtime. NAVI now find themselves qualified for the European League Finals, where they get to try and fight for the title, which G2 won last year in December. Now NAVI will try and get their shot at it. And G2 might even not be there. That's, you know, it's always like that they're currently the reigning champions of Europe, and they might not even be there to defend their title.
It's a strange world.
Currently in 4th place, so it's
okay. Here we are seeing, I guess, another approach and reproach round on the split site. They feel like it went a little bit better for them, but Heroic definitely don't think it went well at all. So they're going to start themselves with a clear from the opposite side, which is fair enough with how much utility was wasted on a single approach. They didn't quite get that through the door. They were trying to hope it would get that Banshee, and it won't. And that's a worry, because Doki is in a great position to swing. And that's the game that they're playing right now, or at least attempting to step in. Also with Blur, playing at the top of the red stairs, they have the pinch on the other side. Are they going to have to use a second frag grenade, or are they going to see if they can try and long and push their way in from elsewhere? No. A wide swing with a Gon 6 was able to get it by the sound of it.
I was going to say, you really do not want to use a second frag grenade for that Banshee, but you might have to in that case because, well, it's a piece of utility you need to get rid of if you want to be pushing in from the study side. Now Blur active on that main stairs. Doki, believe he is falling back towards the side. It's Blur that sneaks out underneath. The drones are not spotting him. Shukri has heard something though, but he's just too slow to come around the corner. Blur running it all the way back towards the site right now, leaving the complete study and Aviator open to take here for Heroic. So let's see how quick they are with it.
That's it. A minute 30 wasted though. Little bits of utility, but also a couple of bits on the pockets of Na'Vi designed to leave themselves some time and space. Suddenly Heroic have a lot of movement to do in a short space of time, and they're going to try and make it connect and work, holding themselves from multiple different places. They know that they're not going to be able to fight against the unstoppable Kaid claws of save, so instead, let's try and force our way through the fight itself. Blaz is underneath with the grenade still in pocket, and they might be able to utilize that underneath. There is still 2 that's pushing across the top as well. It's a utility that is very important on these swings, but also so are the swings.
For sure, the Nitro being tossed up is not going to be able to catch any of the Heroic members, and we stay in a 5-on-5 for now. Flashbangs are going in, but more so being effective onto Blaz. This grenade is going to be tossed in right onto Blur, and that's going to be letting him live for now, up to 25 HP, just still laying close with that shotgun. Is going to be of some massive important saves. Knows someone is up on the window, wants to get that Nitro out, instead tosses it down the stairs. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to catch anyone as Blur again catches another grenade and manages to live through it. The man is literally taking all these explosives right now and just eating them for breakfast.
Well, 3 is apparently too full, and now as they try and slip their way through, the fight is great from Shukri. Drops it, but Doki, round on the back, puts the pressure back, gets the second. And that's the man with the diffuser, but caught reloading by Chaoxis, who's trying to drive his way through the site. They pick it up, put it down, and Na'Vi just scramble their way through to the round.
Blaz managed to pick up that diffuser, ran through, took a little bit of damage from the actual smoke canister, and Doki managed to get, or someone else managed to get one single shot on it, which was enough to actually stop the plant from happening. And as Doki just said, just saw the head of the planter there in the very first occasion, which allowed him to go for that swing and eventually winning that round. So Na'Vi now just a singular point away from winning it and taking the full 2. Locked already off the finals, now need to try and work onto the 6th Invitational. They need to get as many points as they possibly can, potentially overtake G2 in the next Playday. Because right now, if they win this, they would be up onto 9 points, just a singular point behind G2, just 2 points behind VP, and 3 behind Vitality. So there is going to be some opportunities there to still rise for Natus Vincere.
One more round, Na'Vi, but for now, it's potentially got to be on your attack, something that is fair to say we haven't massively seen connect on either team across the 2 halves. This has been a traditional Villa. It's a 4-2 both halves. It's still going defender-sided as of this moment in time. However, it's the first time that Na'Vi have been ahead this whole game. And it's right at the end. Can they actually utilize this pressure, this confidence to build behind them? They're a team that is confident when they play well, and when they play well, they're confident. But as soon as those wheels start to come off, the entire wagon sometimes falls apart. This is their opportunity to push it over the finish line before it becomes even more dangerous.
This is their opportunity. If they don't get it now, then it's anyone's ball game, really. Whoever picks up that 15th round will then be the winner of it. So, Na'Vi, now they have the opportunity. Now they have the advantage. Need to make the best of it. Heroic. And a bit of a roam here. Blaz inside the kitchen foil, all the way down into the basement, and Chaoxis and Thunder just holding off to the walk-in closet as best as they currently can. Need to be careful though. Saves has been on the tear lately. Grenades are being tossed in. Foy gets the first kill. Saves gets a team kill somehow. Not really working out well. This gives Heroic the opportunity to bring it back to even numbers, to 7-7. And to have an opportunity to still fight for that win. Just worth 2 points now. But a win is a win nonetheless.
I mean, I guess I'm always going to have curiosities as to what happened, but it looks like Saves was at least smiling and laughing about it, so even when they're in the situation, obviously they've already been able to pull some of the points that they needed, but still, it's these little problems and mistakes that are getting a little bit too scrappy. Doki is creeping his way underneath and has the pocket grenades to try and cause something, but if we hark our minds back, every single time he's tried to, he's been swung on, so that's always a little bit of a danger. At least here it's way less likely, but there's always still a chance, and where there's a chance, there's often a heroic player trying to capitalize upon it.
Secretly seems to be aware of a player still being inside a study, tries to take the fight. I believe that is Void, yes indeed, with the silenced Vector with a red dot. Quite a peculiar set of attachments there. It's Doki to be called off first. Kioxis gets that kill, brings it to that 2v5. Now Secretly and Saves are the ones left for this game to try and, well, finish it off here. Lock it off. Lock off those 2 points for NAVI. And even though it seems very unlikely, there's still 70 seconds on the clock. It's plenty of time to make something happen. But if Heroic are smart about it, they're not going to be giving any 1v1s. They're going to force them to jump in from windows, give them no other way out, so you can swing with 2 players at the same time.
Heroic are playing so many of these off positions. So many of these tricky scenarios to put the fight in. Secretly is able to finally pop the shield on the bed, but with 50 seconds left, there's a second shield. That one also goes down, but that's all your Selmas. That's all of that utility gone, and now you got to see if you can actually try and connect it with the site. Oh no, it's a Goyo. That's even more time burnt and wasted, and with the big open angle, let's see if you can find Thunder. Still in walk-in closet. Are they aware? They seem to have a vague idea, but 30 seconds, and with him refusing to leave, that puts you in a tricky scenario. Do you try and push and take the swing or go elsewhere? Saves is going to see if he can force the play here as the intel comes through that there's somebody pushing on the approach. Kioxis suffers pretty heavily as Secretly is able to slip the way in. Hey, there's Thunder, still in the cupboard. And there is almost Saves locked off. All the way, Max OT.
Round number 15 is what we need to decide a winner between these 2 teams here today. Heroic, which has nothing to lose, and a NAVI, which is looking to desperately get as many points as possible to set themselves up well for the 6th Invitational. So, Aviator Games, that is where it must be decided. Finka, again, to be brought up by Heroic. The Lion as well, making its re-entry because, you know, we haven't seen that yet from this team so far. It's basically the same lineup, a lack of soft destruction, you can almost call it, which of course has hurt them in the past as well. But considering we are playing Aviator Games, might not as much now because you do not need to go top-down, which, for example, is a thing in kitchen dining.
That it is. Oh, it is all the way. And, you know, it's a little bit of a worry for NAVI, I think, in general, because there was all these high hopes for them sort of coming into this split. And obviously, it's a tricky game to play against a team like Heroic.
Yeah.
As you've put it, on a day when Heroic has sort of all the weight and all the stress of competition, they're still somewhat unpredictable. They're very clever with their holds, and they love to push the mold out. Here, it's so unpredictable. The positioning, the pacing on these defenses,
it's even more creative.
It's just they're not holding back, and that was that question answered of how are they going to play? Are they going to throw themselves entirely into the mix, or are they going to be a bit sort of concerned, a bit lukewarm? No, they're red hot and very dangerous.
So that's the thing. They don't need to be concerned. Like, what do they need to be concerned about? Absolutely nothing. There's going to be a lot of time left before they are going active inside of the Challenger League, yeah, because this season's Challenger League hasn't even started. So, you know, there's a lot of time for them. They can try out some new things here, maybe define their playstyle for the upcoming year of Siege. That should bring them back towards the European League. And, well, if they play like this and can challenge NAVI, who, you know, are considered to be a consistent top 4, top 5 team. Of course, they don't quite find themselves there yet right now, but if you manage to challenge them, you've managed to challenge other teams in the European League as well consistently over the past couple of days. It's definitely going to be very helpful.
The E1D, the eternal pulse in the skies of NAVI, but they've not really massively fumbled or been punished by it, to be honest. It's been utilized well by Heroic, not to say that. The first round obviously was the most sort of blatant use of that in terms of the first attack we got from Heroic, but since then, it's just been a concerning constant. And NAVI kind of happy to play this game. They're slightly rolling on their own pace. They're hitting some of these pre-fires and angles, and they're able to lock off the opener. But Blaz, he's looking his eye into the sight, takes care of that, creeps his way in. He's looking to do a bit of business. The free fire comes over the top. They are well aware that somebody is putting this pressure on. There's another E1D. There's Blaz going to punish, saves, or at least attempt to with the fire. Gets healed up a little to keep himself in the fight, and the canister pops to make sure the swing doesn't come elsewhere, but it's all on 90. It's all potentially now on this backside of red as well. It's another potential C4 game.
Now, the damage that Blaz has managed to do onto Saves has been mitigated already. The Kona station or the Salvation station able to heal Saves back up to nearly full HP. Heroic are a man down. Saves, however, gets injured by a grenade from below, and the Kona stations have a bit of a cooldown left. So there's a minute left on the clock as Doki goes to the pickup here. This is a little bit of time they can try and use to actually go for a push. As Thunder tries to go in, they need to go for a plant here. 50 seconds on that clock. Gets behind the roost table, and Nitro is being tossed in, but that is not for the position that Thunder's in, somehow still connects. It's a 4-on-3, gets dropped. Navi now in a prime position to try and win this game as Blaz is trying to take a gunfight here on the main stairs.
Wants him to peek again, wants to put the fight in. He swings around either side of the shield, but it's much tougher for Blaz. Doesn't have the ground, doesn't have the patience, but does have Chaoxis able to find one more. Drives their way up behind the shield, swings round to see if they can get the close angle. Can't lock it off. The shotgun pops. Blur for one. Doesn't get the second. Chaoxis, but it's Nath with the pickup, and now it is just Shukri left looking for the first behind the bar, but it's Nath that locks it off. Navi, they find the end of a frustrating game for them, but Heroic made them earn every single round.
It was definitely a hard-fought victory here for Navi, and Heroic, a team which had nothing to lose, almost managed to let Navi wait yet another week before they could lock themselves in for the European League finals. Yet, they managed to walk away with the win here today.
You win.